What's going on, everyone? It's November the 12th. This is your main man, NormBeezy. We are on the BIZ with NormBeezy and Lady Tiger is actually in the house tonight, man. We want to welcome you all into a great show for today. So just make sure you ride out and listen to the BIZ. Unbelievable. The BIZ is straight facts. Yeah. Lady T, NormBeezy with the BIZ coming at you. Yeah. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Good.
Doing good.
All right.
So we have some interesting topics that we want to discuss. We're going to hit on Breonna Taylor, the impact of the celebrity vote on voters, Ice Cube's contract, Black America, and, of course, the hot topic, the election.
All right, so make sure y'all stay tuned and stay locked in to the BIZ. But first, before we do introduce our guest today, I should turn my phone down. Make sure I don't get no background noise. But I do want to mention shout out to our sponsors, the Positive People Association. We appreciate you guys. Fairfield Improvement Council, Fairfield West Improvement Council, Glorious Church of God in Christ, West Virginia Ray of Hope. We want to give you all a great shout out for sponsoring us and making sure that we're able to do the podcast and also teach the youth the podcast in the community. I also want to give a special shout out to organizations that have worked with Positive People Association. Refresh Appalachia has helped us with our Harvest Garden project here in our community, so we want to give a shout out to Refresh Appalachia. The Stars Us Theater Troupe, as well as the Alchemy Theater Troupe, working together to teach theater arts and bringing arts into our community. So anybody that we didn't mention that's been helping, we want to give you a big shout out too. So thanks.
All right, so before we hit our topics, I would just want to welcome you guys back. We're excited to have you. It's been a couple months since we got together and talked last, and a lot's changed. So tell us, this is the second part of our No Justice, No Peace. Tell us I forgot you're clapping. I'm going to reintroduce you guys. We have Audra Thomas, Faith Fountain from Ashland for Change. And then we have Austin Johnson. Tell us a little bit about what you guys have been doing since the last time we met. Where do we start, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Working, maintaining, trying to stay healthy. AFC's done a few things, but not a lot just because, COVID.
Right.
Yeah. I think we're just in the planning process of seeing what we can do, through COVID, and just try to still make the community know that we're still here.
Yeah.
I've just been putting in a lot of hard work and sweat into making sure Joe Biden was the next president.
Yes.
And yes, he's going to be. Just basically been focusing on schoolwork and just same thing as normal. So.
Okay.
That's what's up.
So the first thing I want to hit on is Breonna Taylor. Since we met last, the verdict has come in. The family, I think, got, $12 million settlement. How do you all feel about the verdict and what's been going on with that? Don't everybody jump at once now.
I think the verdict was BS. And, I think it's crazy that basically the only reason Old Buddy's getting punished is because he put holes in the neighbor's wall and not an actual person. But I think this is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to exposing the corruption in Louisville Metro Police Department. So I'm not happy about the verdict. I think $12 million was not enough. You can't put a price on someone's life, but
Right.
At the same time, I see a lot of things coming out about the corruption within that entity of the police department. So hopefully that's a good first step of creating some change in Kentucky.
All right.
I think it's sad because Breonna Taylor didn't get the justice she deserved. She was killed in her own home. And just like she said, the person that got justice was the person that got holes through their wall. It wasn't Breonna Taylor. She was in her apartment, and it's just sad that this is what it's come down to in America. Like it's something has got to change with the way police intervene and talk to people, or even just coming onto a scene. We have to do more to focus on how police treat people and give the police resources that they need to treat people the right way.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. When the verdict came in, I kind of shared something on Facebook that said, Breonna Taylor, we're sorry that the walls got more justice than you did, your life did. And, you know, that's sad. And I agree. I don't think that the verdict was fair. But we kind of all knew what was going to happen, especially when they locked down Louisville. Before they gave the verdict, they were barricading walls and moving people out of the city. So you already knew what was going to happen. So I think you kind of hit on it a little bit, but how do you think we, especially as Black people, as minorities, people of color, and even America, that don't agree with what's going on, how do we kind of seek justice for her still, even though...
We got to continue to get people registered to vote. That's the only way we can make change is if you go vote. You can't sit at home and complain. You can't complain. You got to go do action. You got to vote. You got to make your voice heard. You got to make your stance. You got to build that movement. You got to get it going.
I agree.
I think as we get more people registered to vote, they become more aware of the importance of voting in their local elections. As you can see, a lot of the blowback is going on Mayor Fisher in Louisville, and you know, that's an elected position. So if you get out there and vote, that's where the change can be sparked. That's where the seed can be planted. But in addition to voting, I think not all of us, obviously, but a lot of us are more aware now that we have the right to hold these people accountable, the people that we do elect. And obviously not all, but some seem to be listening. And when we get people in office, for example, like an AOC, she holds everyone accountable. Not only herself, not only the people that she stands against, but the people that she also stands with. So she may not be a president, but that's one of those positions that people don't think about, how that could affect change in the long run. So yeah, voting is, I think, number one. And not only we need to hold those elected officials accountable, we need to hold like ourselves accountable in our community. And we can't demand change and equality if we're not providing that in our community for ourselves, to our kids. So it also just goes along with, you know, kind of setting a good example and leading with action.
That's kind of a segue for my next question, next topic.
Well, can I read this stat?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to read a stat.
Go ahead.
Basically, on the poll, 41% of voters say Breonna Taylor grand jury was too lenient on the police, but 41% plurality of voters called this result too lenient on the officers, with 28% saying it was about right, 9% saying it was too harsh, and the remainder was unsure. So we mentioned voters and getting out and vote and stuff like that. This was a poll of the voters. 21% of voters say that they were following the story about these charges very closely, with just shy of 60% of them saying they were following, or 60% saying they were following it at least somewhat closely. The things that was been happening in the country with the George Floyd and everything that's been going on with Breonna Taylor, we found a similar question about support for recent anti-racism protests found voters support sinking below the 50% mark. And in most recent polls, 40% say that they support anti-racism protests, with 37% opposed to that. So just wanted to throw out a couple of stats out there, what was going on with that. But yeah, sorry, if you want to go ahead.
No, that's cool. That's cool. I was just going to hit on, you know, you all were talking about voting. So, you know, we know the celebrities use their platforms. So how do you feel, some of these celebrities we may not always agree with. How do you feel about the celebrities and they're using their platform to sway the vote, especially amongst young voters? And there's been a history of some of these celebrities, too, that have endorsed Republican candidates, which that is their choice, and there's some that have endorsed the Democrats. But some of the celebrities that have caught heat lately are like 50 Cent, Kanye West, Lil Wayne. Do you guys have
Ice Cube.
Ice Cube? Well, yeah, Ice Cube too. And we'll get to him.
Yeah, I do have something to say, but I don't want to go first.
I think black celebrities, and I know we just mentioned rappers or guys that rap artists, but black celebrities overall. We talk about LeBron James, who's a black celebrity. We talk about Oprah Winfrey. So we saying how much influence is the question? How much influence does black celebrities have on? I guess we could say the average person, black person. And then we'll get into overall saying celebrities, period. You know, the white celebrities, how much influence, period, does a celebrity have on how we vote on candidates?
Okay, so celebrities do have a major influence on how you're going to vote. I mean, let's look at it clear. Like right now, you have younger voters. Their influencer is TikTok, these younger apps. My influencer would be I watch the news, so I'm influenced by the news. So we're in a part where we have to figure out what is right and what is false, because things are getting mixed up on these platforms. And I lost what I was going to say. But celebrities, they have a major following. So if people listen to their music and if they think it's cool to support Trump, then they're going to support Trump. So yes, they do have an influence on a population or whatever you want to call it. So it's just, I don't know.
Well, some of the things I saw were like with 50 Cent. They were saying that he was supporting Trump for self-serving purposes. He didn't want to raise the taxes. He didn't want to have to pay more than he had to. Kanye West.
It's all about the money for them.
It's all about the money. They were saying Kanye wanted to bring religion back, but at the same time, was he pulling away votes from the Biden campaign in a ploy for Trump? Lil Wayne, was it all just a photo op? So, you know, it's maybe they were trying to do something positive, but I think it's being seen in a negative light, and it's being seen as self-serving.
I think it all goes back to the money.
It does. It's money.
It's money.
It's money.
I want to say that, like, I mean, as far as influence, like, I'm a big fan of Cardi B. And when, obviously, it's very clear that she does not like Trump whatsoever.
Right.
And so when you watch that stuff, she's very vocal about how she doesn't like him and everything like that. So if you have people who watch those things, you're going to think the same way that she does, because she doesn't like that person. And so I think it makes a difference is people putting their own personal belief into it, and you get that thought concept in your mind, and maybe you start to think, okay, well, maybe that is true, versus like evaluating and having your own perception of what actually is.
Yeah. Without getting too deep,
Go ahead.
if you want to look back at the history of black people in the country and, removing the black father from the household and all that, when it comes to your Lil Waynes and your LeBron James and 50 Cent, a lot of times that male figure might be the only figure some kids have in their life. And when I say kids, I mean younger voters. My bad.
Yeah.
And I think that it's dangerous for them to use their platform in the way that they do. They can vote for whoever they want to vote for. You know what I'm saying? And it would make sense for wealthier people to vote, like you said, in their own interest. I get that. But when you have a platform like that, I think it's worth it to be conscious of your influence. And I don't think they are being conscious of their influence, or maybe they didn't care. Like Kanye, I know from my generation, I'm 31, I graduated high school in 2007. In high school and all the way through college, I made all kinds of new friends, and a lot of them did music or were artistic or creative. And they look at this man as like a genius, and I even put him on that pedestal sometimes, not all the time, but creatively and artistically, he's like, worlds ahead of other people. So people look at him and follow his words and follow his actions, and they're casting the vote for him or Trump or whatever. So I think it's very dangerous, and while it's probably all about the money, there's some things that I feel like people should be more responsible with if you have a platform, if you have an influence. So I think for older people or more educated people, there might not be much of an influence, but for the younger generation coming up, they're definitely influenced by that. And
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the quote that I sent you guys is like that's where I think we need to be responsible in our own communities and provide examples and be a father figure or a maternal figure or a big sister or a big brother, so they have other people to look to besides these celebrities.
Okay.
I remember when Kanye too met with Trump that one time, and he was saying that you were speaking about the father figure. He said that he's like a father figure to me. So I think you're right on that point.
And he's always talked about issues with his dad, so that makes sense that he's even influenced by somebody who has wealth like that.
Right.
So is it the fact that these people use their platforms and their stage, and they should, as celebrities, we say, they should speak out against matters. Now we talk about this, like Colin Kaepernick used his stage and his superpower or his celebrity power to speak up, right? And then we say, LeBron, you guys should speak up about issues that are affecting, especially black communities. You should use your stage and your format to speak up. And so is it the fact that the Lil Waynes and the 50 Cents and some of those was, like you said, just self-interest? Is it the fact that they were speaking up and saying, vote Republican? Or if they would have been speaking up and saying, hey, like LeBron and Beyonce and a couple other people who were really high influence and saying, vote Democrat? Is that the problem, that these black celebrities are saying,
So right now,
vote Republican?
right now in 2020, you can no longer be a rapist or a business person and try selling your product if you don't have a purpose. It's gotten to the point where you have to have a purpose, fighting against equality, fighting for equality, fighting against police brutality. You have to have a purpose to sell something, to be something. So I feel like they may be clinging for just support, because any publicity is good publicity to them. So if their name's out there, so I mean, they're getting what they want. They're getting the stories on their name. They're getting looked at. So maybe their goal in the end is to build more recognition or just build more stuff on their name to get more attention to them.
I mean, I know we look at Kanye like, okay, Kanye, is this a joke or is it not a joke?
Right.
We know he met with Trump and he had his MAGA hat on, and we was like, man, what is wrong with this guy? You know what I'm saying? What is going on here? You know what I'm saying? But they did speak about prison reform, and he did speak about that issue with Trump, and him and Kim Kardashian spoke about prison reform and this, that, and the other. But so he did talk about some issues, although we looked at it. And then him running, I thought the same thing, man, this is just to take votes away from Biden. And he got 60,000 votes. He got like over 60,000 votes. And just saying that is to say, to me, what I'm saying is maybe that does open a segue for another, not just a black person, but someone else to come in. Because Trump wasn't, like we said, Trump wasn't a politician either.
Right.
And Ronald Reagan was an actor turned politician. Arnold Schwarzenegger was an actor turned politician, one governor. So maybe this may actually influence and open the eyes to not just having this two-party system that we are subjugated to, or whatever the word is, that we are as black people, when we only have two parties to vote for, when in the end we don't really want to necessarily vote for Trump, and we really don't like the other people in the party. And we get into that a little bit later, because I'm saying, like, they could promise us this and promises that we're going to make these changes, we're going to do this, that, and the other. And I think it may be leading into Ice Cube was one of the people that were
Really getting backlash for
what he was, and they thought, well, he's supporting Trump. And Ice Cube's a real influential person as well. Made movies, a rap star, turned into a movie producer, and he's done a lot. You know what I mean? The 3-on-3 tournament that he has over in China, and so anyway, Ice Cube has done major stuff. But at the same time, he was getting backlash, like, what, you supporting Trump? When he was just saying he wanted to meet with Donald Trump and his administration, and he wanted to meet with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and he wanted to talk about this thing called the
Contract Black America. And it's basically a blueprint to achieve racial economic justice, like home ownership, criminal justice reform. I think there's like 13 points that you can bring up there and read here in a minute. But I know that Faith was reading an interesting article about that Contract Black America, and I'll read that if you've still got that on your phone.
Ice Cube said, "I'm not playing no more of these political games. We're not part of a team. So I'm going to whoever's in power, and I'm going to speak about them, about our problems, specifically referring to Black Americans. I'm not going in there talking about minorities. I'm not going in there talking about people of color or diversity or none of that stuff. I'm going there for Black Americans, the ones who are descendants of slaves." Which didn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense to me either. And I think that he has some valid points here in his contract, but the way he articulated what he was trying to get across and what he was doing came across the wrong way. And people saw that as he was, in lack of a better word, selling out to go meet with Trump and, endorse him. And it just didn't go over well.
another business ploy or something.
Another business another
Something
business
like
ploy, yeah.
Go ahead. I see y'all.
Y'all shaking your head. You got some?
When it comes to the Ice Cube thing, I think my main issue with it was the fact that he said he's going to work with whoever's in power. And like you said, he's already done so much for the community. So I don't think he's selling out. Wasn't the most articulate with his point, but it just comes down to like, and the two-party system, hopefully we get rid of that sometime soon, but it's not realistic to approach someone with a contract and a plan 2 weeks before the election takes place. Mm-hmm. And for you, let me say this differently. For you to meet with the Trump administration is one thing, but you can't fault Biden for trying to focus on his campaign to beat the person who's already in office, because Biden never said no. Biden said after the election, let's get to it.
Yeah.
And I understand that that's a priority for Ice Cube, and that's a priority for a lot of us, is the contract with Black America, whatever you want to call it.
But if you're not a descendant of a slave, you don't count.
And I wanted to touch on that a little bit. I don't rock with the descendant of slave thing because I don't think you should label yourself at that as that. But I do see what he's saying, because a lot of times when people say POC or people of color, that's not about Black folks specifically.
Right.
And even in those other people of color communities like Latin Americans, even the darker complected Latin Americans get crapped on. So I get exactly what he's saying. I'm just not 100% sure if he articulated himself the way he should have. But yeah, I mean, I didn't look over the contract yet. I've seen some things and I've read articles, but I just don't think it's realistic to come to somebody a couple weeks before the election and expect for real change to be made and expect for that other person to be genuine about it.
Right.
When they're trying to win an election.
I see, and I agree with you too. So I said the same thing. Like Joe Biden was not necessarily in a position to say, "Hey, okay, Ice Cube, I'm gonna sit down with you and we're gonna come up with this agreement." I'm not even in office yet to necessarily do that. I'll just skim through the contract with Black America real fast, and we had also mentioned this on one of the other podcasts that I do with Shank, shooting the shit with Shank. So I just want to go ahead and give him a shout out too. You know what I'm saying? ShankDaddy.buzzsprout.com. You can follow him on there. But we was talking about the contract with Black America, and Ice Cube was wanting this to happen before they get support of the Black vote. He was wanting to sit down and talk about what can Black people get for their vote and how things should be. Derek Hamilton, and look up Derek Hamilton, in the preface to this contract said that this contract with Black America strikes at the heart of racism and presents a blueprint to achieve racial economic justice. It was written in the backdrop of the killing of George Floyd, which set off a wave of protests, not seen since the civil rights era in the 50s and 60s, and a global pandemic in which the Black mortality rate is more than double the white rate, in which 45%, nearly half of black-owned businesses closed. So that the impact of this global pandemic and the impact of police brutality, everything, it was like, okay, now it's time to have a plan for Black Americans. We must and we need to rewrite some laws and some bills, and we may get into that later because Joe Biden also, when he spoke, he was speaking about what he was going to lift every voice for Black America and what he was saying. But real quick, then the specific bills in this, I guess I'm gonna call them the 13th Amendments to his contract to Black America. And I'll read the bold headlines. I won't necessarily go into each one unless you ask me to, but if each one has a plan. So the first one is a bill to guarantee Black opportunity and representation. The second one is bank lending reform. The third one is federal funding of baby bonds, is in quotes. 4, Federal Reserve and government pensions. 5 is a personal data and credit. 5 is finance oversight. And this a lot has to do with banking there. 6 is personal data and credit. 7, prison reform. The 8th Amendment is judicial reforms. The 9th, Police Reform Act. 10, FCC licensing of public airwaves. 11, Confederate monuments and institutions. 12, AJP program for education and jobs. That stands for the adoption of public-private programs to access jobs and education and training for people willing to put in the work and commitment. And 13, which I like, and I may read this one, Black responsibility is 13. And I'll read the Black responsibility part. Chronic poverty creates an atmosphere full of negativity, frustration, hopelessness, depression, alcoholism, drug abuse, crime, and violence. These are some of the conditions that plague the Black community, which is dealing with extreme generational poverty. As we begin to gain social and economic equality, it is our duty to clean up ourselves and our community. This contract is a two-way street. As we gain social and economic equality, we must begin to dissolve any bitterness in our hearts for past wrongs. We must become better citizens who are more productive on all levels of American society. We really must step up after we pass the contract with Black America with no more excuses left in the kitty. Our entertainers should be persuaded to deliver more positive content that leads our youth to make better choices in life. A new pride must develop with these new opportunities, and we must fight against negativity, frustration, hopelessness, depression, alcoholism, drug abuse, crime, and violence. We hereby pledge our names to supporting this contract with Black America. And those are the 13th Amendments that he put in there.
Look at your eyes.
Why you looking like that?
Right. What you gonna
No,
say?
it just doesn't sound like. It just sounds like it's not like something you bring to the president. It sounds like something you can do in your own community, and it be a movement, but not something like, oh, this is a contract type of deal. Like, I feel like there needs to be sat down and more like in detail. It's not okay. These are the things that need to change. We all are aware of that. Even the president knows it. Like, we're aware of that. But how specific can you be so that these things don't happen again? So
what happens if you breach the contract?
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, he goes into detail in each of the bold things, kind of a summary of, what the Federal Reserve and government pension mean, for qualified Black Americans, Federal Reserve to allow a one-time interest-free loan for home ownership. He goes into he kind of goes into what these,
but it's like you're allowed to get a loan, but if you don't, what about jobs for Black people? You can get a loan, but in there also there's something else about him, like the bank and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it kind of like contradicts itself, I guess.
I feel like all of them were good points, and I did see the list you're talking about where it's bold and then they go into it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's all good points, and I kind of agree with what you said on the sense of let's really whittle down and nail down these in local communities, and then maybe we're going to tell Biden or Trump or whoever, we're going to tell them, let's, back it up a little bit and then present it, after we've worked through it a little bit. Because right now it just looks like, and I know we shouldn't care about what it looks like to other people, but it looks like, bam, sign this, and that's how you're gonna get my vote. When that's not how it works. Unfortunately, I wish we could just go into the president's office and say, do this right now, and it happened. But we keep talking about change, but the change is never gonna happen overnight. And I also want to bring up a point before we move away from this, is that another thing when it comes to Biden and Harris and Ice Cube, how do we know Ice Cube? NWA, F the police. Biden signed a crime bill. Kamala was a prosecutor. I ain't knocking either one of them.
Nah, but go ahead. I see where you're going.
Yeah.
But why would he want to work with them? Initially, with his background and how he's been treated for making the music that he's made. I think that's what a lot of people didn't look at when they decided to throw out that judgment so harshly. And, I wasn't happy to see him talking to Trump. But at the same time, if you look at what we're dealing with here,
That's a good point.
I
didn't think about that.
I can't be too mad at him, Like, sometimes I just be alone thinking. And I'm like, that's how we all got introduced to Ice Cube. For the most part, it's like, oh, okay. Especially when she was a prosecutor in California, and he's from California. But
Right. And you were talking about the bills that Biden was a part of that Senate that everybody signed, the bill that kind of gave the 3-strike law and everything, and gave more black men went to prison, and just and that's been the whole situation. That's been the whole, like, it's 2020, and since I was saying, I refer this time of period in our life right now, it's almost like Reconstruction all over again. In the early 1900s, when black people were becoming in power, political power, owning their own businesses. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we talked about the bombing of Oklahoma City. We talked about in South Carolina where they had black people was representing the Republican Party, and they were actually senators, and they were actually in political power, and the liberal Democrats was like, nah, I'm not about to be having nobody over me that's black. And then all of a sudden they started coming up with all these, and excuse, I know the fire thing is in the back there, but they started the liberal Democrats started coming up with, they actually formed the KKK, actually formed the group. They actually started forming these groups that was saying that black people were monsters and black men were monsters. And anyway, you can go and look that up and research all that for yourself about the Reconstruction period. And then we come to this time when we were promised 40 acres and a mule, this, that, and the other. In the 60s and 70s, we marched. We got a couple of, we had to get a couple of laws put into the Constitution just in the 60s and 70s, just for the right to vote, just for the right to not have to go to the back of the bus, just for the right to be. And this, I mean, so from the 1900s and Reconstruction up to 1960, 70 years, we were still second-class citizens. You know what I'm saying? So we looking at this point in time when Trump is in office and he wants to make America great again. It's kind of like he was saying, we go back to Reconstruction, and we're going to put people back in place to where they're supposed to be. So then you start seeing a lot of these, I don't want to say left wing or whatever, I don't even really care, but you start seeing a lot of these radical white nationalist groups start to bare their face and come out and do things and be like, speak a little louder about, go back to Africa. You know what I'm saying? You don't like it here, go back to Africa. This is still our country. This is still our country. And now we faced with that. So the contract with Black America, again, is saying, hey, look, and I understand it should be something on a local level. Like you said, something should be started, like, you know what I'm saying, with your mayors and your governors. But it does have to have real policy change. Like you said, we can say this and you can sign this, and what's going to happen if you break it, like you said. But we need policy change. I need to be able to go into the bank and be able to get a loan for a business or a loan for a home without all the stipulations, without, you know what I'm saying? And then when I do, I don't have to pay back more than this white person that has to pay, you know what I'm saying? So I shouldn't, you know what I'm saying, you shouldn't tax me more. You shouldn't, you know what I'm saying, keep me down financially, because in the end of it, I think it comes back to financial gain and financial, you know what I'm saying? Any equality that we keep talking about in America, it's the dollar. It's the dollar. So if my neighborhood looks like it does, and it's, you know, houses are dilapidated and da-da-da, why can't my neighborhood look like Stanford Park? Why can't my neighborhood look like, you know what I'm saying? And don't just and don't just say, oh, because black people don't know how to act. Don't just say we're a bunch of animals and we don't know how to act and we ain't civil and we ain't smart enough to do this and do that with our neighborhoods, this, that, and the other. Don't give me that excuse.
And what's sad is there's people that actually believe that about black people.
Yeah.
Especially around here.
Backwoods mentality.
Yeah. Like we have to go to certain cities in our country, you know, and there are certain areas, and you know, Atlanta is one of the ones that stand out. People say, you know, it's Chocolate City in Atlanta. Black businesses, black people are booming. When I say booming, black people are making it pretty well. You know what I'm saying? They got nice houses, they got nice cars, good jobs,
They're
good
running
paying,
a lot of the businesses
good paying
down
jobs.
there.
Yeah, I'm saying. So you know what I mean. So you're moving to that. You go to Upper Marlboro, Maryland, which I believe is one of the top 5 richest counties in America, and it's black. It's a black county. You know what I'm saying? That's right near Washington, Landover. Black people, they booming. They doing the thing right there. You know what I'm saying? They making it like that. But we're in patches. We're in certain areas. But and that kind of goes with Ice Cube saying that. And I'll get off of his Black American contract. The last thing he said is black responsibility. We do have to hold ourselves accountable for a lot of things that happen in our black community to help each other get up and not be a crab.
Have the crab mentality.
Yeah, have that crab mentality. And that goes from the top people. When I'm speaking, some of these politicians that I know on the local level that are black don't let black dollars come into the black community. They want to say, oh, well, we had to put the money over here because they said so, but you ain't even really fight to put that money back into your own community. And when I say that, to help build your community up, to help build the people in the community up. And anyway, so that's all. Anybody else got anything to say? I feel like I was just talking.
No. I like what Audra said, though, about Ice Cube, though. I didn't think about that point, about NWA and him, Biden and Harris. So
Yeah, because whenever I was talking about the contract and the Trump and Ice Cube thing, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and one of the podcasts I listened to is the Joe Budden podcast, and he was the one that actually said something about the timing of it all. And then once I listened to his point about, you know, how this was presented a couple weeks ahead of time, and, you know, it's obviously going to be a headline, and Ice Cube's going to be used as a pawn, and blah, blah, blah. And then I thought about it a little bit deeper. I was like, yeah, that is a valid point, but at the same time, just look at his history. We can't just, you know, forget that and just call him names and Uncle Tom and this, that, and the third. So
Right. 50 Cent.
Oh, okay. So let's move on to the hot topic. The main topic that we still experiencing right now, the election, the vote. And it's still going on. And it's still going on. And election day was what, November 3rd, and we're at 12th? And it's still going on. So
Very suspenseful.
it's just
Fake news.
It's just too much. It's fake. Yeah. It's very, very fake. So
It's
So what do
all
you
a fraud.
guys, I mean, there's so much we can say about this. I mean, it has been, the weeks leading up to the election were so stressful. I don't know about you all, but it was just stressful. I've never experienced an election where there was so much hatred and so much tension, not only, between races, between parties, between people. I can say this election brought out the true colors of people, and I'm seeing people for who they really are. And I can say that was one positive of this election, and it's really sad. And you know, it's made me view people through different eyes.
Yeah.
And I don't see people, even people close to me, that I used to think the true colors have come out, and I just don't view them the same. So tell me what you guys experienced leading up to this election, still going on with the recount. You know, give me your thoughts on that.
Okay, so the election. Oh my gosh.
Because you campaigned a lot.
Lord,
so-
yes, I did.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time making sure that I influenced a lot of people in my county. I made sure that Joe Biden was going to be the next president of the United States, and I guess it paid off. Even though he may have won our county by thousands and thousands and thousands of votes, I still got able to register people to vote in my county, influence my friends, and influence others to actually vote for the first time. So I think that was a major accomplishment for me. But this election was, it was more than just Biden versus Trump. It was love versus hate, unity versus division, just the backlash of everything. It's just so many things have boiled over into this point where we are right now. And this election was just the tipping point. You see the anger in people's eyes and their hearts, just the things they can say and do. I'm 19 years old and I've never seen so much hate. I can't get over it. Just the things I've been called while campaigning, doing my civic duty, standing out there using my First Amendment right, hearing the words people call me in my county, people that I live around, people that live among us.
Right.
And that is still out there. Trump's cult is still out there.
Yeah.
Just because he's gone, the fight's not over.
Well,
the
he
fight
ain't
is
gone
still
yet.
here at the table. We have got to do more to fight this cult because there's still, 69 million Trumpers out there that believe that way. And that's the scary part.
Yeah.
So in Ashland, I don't know if I don't know if they're still doing it, but they've been outside.
They're
by
out there
the
right now.
bridge.
Right now they still is.
Are they still out there?
There's an
I
army
get
right now at
so
Burger King.
embarrassed.
Burger King.
It's
I told you, it was
Yeah,
Fat Patty's. It
yes.
was a group standing outside in front of the Paramount.
He called me. He was like, "Babe, they out here with guns on their hips and everything."
I went out
like,
there.
What in the world?
Yeah.
So they're still out there since election night, right?
Yeah.
And they've been out there, and they don't have the biggest crowd, but I know a few times before I realized they had guns, because I didn't see the guns the first night. My mom lives 2 blocks from the Paramount, so I rode over there and wrote on all my windows, put on my YG FDT F Donald Trump. I over the block twice, and then I realized it's not that many people. They're not going to be out there that long. And I think it was a couple hours later, somebody said, "Yeah, they're out there with guns," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
So that's crazy. And they're all trying to move over to a different social media network so they can be free and not be censored. And it really is a cult.
It is.
And my cousin Lori, she said that throughout all the years that she was married to Juan and they have biracial children, that she sees more hate and division now than she ever has.
Oh yeah.
And I asked my mom, because my mom and dad are an interracial couple as well, and she said pretty much the same thing. She didn't come out and say that it was worse, but she said it's very reminiscent, and that she thinks it's amplified now because every social media and cameras on your phone and stuff like that, so it's amplified. So she didn't necessarily say it was worse, but she said it was comparable. And I think that is crazy. I just don't understand, because as much as we have progressed, there's still, like you said, about 69 million people who have not. And the young voters, they're being influenced. So it's just continuing a cycle. These people are filled with hate, and they raise these children who don't know any better. But then they get to a certain age where it's like, you have to know. Like, are you this gullible? And I don't know. It's just very frustrating to me. But I have felt just a little bit of weight lifted off my shoulders. But I'm slightly conflicted because we did have a record amount of voters, but a lot of them voters were just voting to get him out. They weren't even necessarily voting
For Biden.
for
Right.
Biden. So that still puts us in a sticky situation. And it's just a reminder, what you just brought up, that 2-party system is flawed. Like, it has to go. But yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about the Whig Party and the Fox Party that turned into the Democrat, to the Republican, to the, and I mean, really, like, this is, it's hundreds of years of of these two same parties is trying to run a country, and two wings of the same bird is what I say. That's why I said it don't really matter if we vote for a Republican or a Democrat. In the end of the day, if they pretty much have the same agenda, you know what I'm saying? Like just a different way of doing it. But yeah, but really, these people that are supporting, I want to say supporting Trump, but supporting the ideology of what he stands for is what's scary. You know what I'm saying? Riding around with the flags on the trucks. And
It's like KKK, the Confederate flags. You know,
really
like,
is.
And Nazi Germany.
it's just like it's the new modern day of back in the day.
It
Like,
really is.
saw those flags going by. Like when I saw that Trump train come through my city, seeing those flags fly, just oh my gosh, 5 flags on one truck, and then have a
Yeah.
Confederate flag in the big middle standing up.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
yeah, what's
I didn't understand the point of that because, like, they Trump trained every weekend. Every time I turned around, they were Trump training from Proctorville to West Virginia to back to Ohio. I've
East
never
Coast to
seen
the West
so many.
Coast.
Right, I've never seen so many flags flying in my life. I'm like, what are y'all doing with all these flags? I mean, it's just it blew my mind, the amount of hatred. And I know it's stereotypical or whatever, but to see the pictures of these people, of these Karens sitting out there yelling at innocent bystanders going by in their car because they didn't support their sign and their person. And I told Norman too, I said, everybody has their own opinion, your own choice, but the hate and the division that this party, that president has brought about, and these people are marching around him. We watched a movie called, what was it called? The Sale. The Sale. And it was a cell phone tower, and these people were mesmerized and hypnotized by this cell phone. They marched around like in a daze around the cell phone. I said, I feel like that's how a lot of these people, like, he is their battery charge. They feed off of him. And now that he's sitting here, I mean, he's always thrown temper tantrums. He's also always just been unprofessional. But he's tweeting this stuff out, and he's refusing to concede. I mean, there comes a point where you have to be an adult. You have to be professional, and you have to stand up, because the way he reacts is the way they're going to react. And although I have a little bit of peace now that I know that Biden, even though they don't believe it, is the president-elect, you still worry in the back of your mind who's going to retaliate because they don't agree with the decision.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, you don't know what. I mean, you're kind of looking over your shoulder, like, because they're still flying their flags.
Well, they just recently arrested a man. I don't know if he was in D.C. or wherever he was arrested, but he was talking about throwing smoke bombs and pipe bombs at the inauguration. If Biden, you know what I'm saying, the Biden inauguration. And they went in his house and found ammunition and guns and everything, but he got arrested. And I'm like, he's one of how many
Right.
that has this mentality that, and I know sometimes it's the fear factor. I know sometimes people might want to say something or do something to scare people into, changing their mind about doing something. I'm not going out there because these people are crazy, and they are, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, this guy was arrested about it. But yeah, just basically going on for what you said right there about these people being out their mind. Like y'all said, people standing outside of Ashland.
Yeah, I found it on
protesting.
Facebook, and it's called Stop the Steal 2020.
Stop the steal, yeah.
Is that what is that their group? Like,
Yeah,
Yep.
it's
That's
like a
an event.
group that they created,
Stop the steal.
and only like, let's see,
But if they were winning, would it be a steal then?
yeah, I think if it was the other way around, I
Right.
don't think they would be doing this. I saw something too that said the Patriots against the Democrats who were cheating, and I'm just like, what? What in the world?
They are so crazy and hateful and bad that it's almost made my perception of the American flag to be a hate symbol.
Oh yeah,
Because the way they wave it and the way they use it as a means to spread hate, it's just like when I see somebody who's just being proud of their country, I don't know if they should be, but when I see somebody just being proud of their country, I shouldn't second guess you and think you hate me or you're going to do something to me just because you're displaying the flag. But that's what they've done. They've almost made it into like the modern day Confederate flag.
Yeah.
And then you see those stupid flags that's half American, half Confederate.
Confederate,
Don't
yes.
make
And
no
it's Trump. And
sense.
it's like, y'all lost.
Yeah.
Y'all lost then and you lost now. You lost.
But now we look at it like, you know, not a black, not a white thing necessarily, because now we have a lot of white people that are just mad at other white people too as well. Like you know, and like a word, some of them, you know, use the word nigga lovers or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So these white people are getting lashed out at as well as being traitors, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? How do we deal with trying to reunite the black people that's in this movement with the white people that's in this movement and moving forward in this country? What do y'all think? How do we just come together and say, hey, look, how can we bring this country back to a point where you said
We're not.
in all your
I
time
was gonna say.
you've never seen this much hate in all your life? You know what I'm saying? You've never. Now I'm graduated in '95. I was born in '76. I was born in a time where I seen a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. I grew up in the era where I seen crack get put into our community, and I seen it destroy black families, and I seen the way it just rocked us. Basically, just say that like, you know, Tupac's word, crack came and it rocked us. And I've seen I've experienced some racism in my life. I've experienced people, white men, calling me a boy. I've experienced different things on that matter, but you're saying hate on this level, it's always been here.
Yeah.
Is my point. It's always been here. I know maybe in the 2000s, mid 2000s, 2010, we may have thought, maybe we're getting away from it a little bit when we get a black president. So, you know, maybe this and that. But even when he became president, you've seen people just going crazy. Like, no way in the world is he going to, you know, ain't no way I'm going to have. And that's why I say, if you look at the Reconstruction period, when it happened right after slavery, Reconstruction came in right after slavery. And like I said, as black people were getting into position, into politics and in different positions, you had the white liberals and the white people saying, ain't no way that a black person going to tell me what to do. And that's how they
That's a
looked
big
at
thing.
it. Like, we're not trying to tell you what to do. I mean, it's like they're afraid that it's going to be reversed or something. Like, they're going to have to be slaves.
They're afraid to lose power because they're afraid that the white people, what they are, that they're going to be on the bottom, below blacks and all the minorities, women, gays. They want to have the say-so. White men over abortion. White men, they want to have the say-so over everything. And statistically, if you're looking at it, they're losing power. By 2050, we're all going to be, there's going to be a lot of people that's mixed in America. And what is that going to favor? What party are those people going to favor? It's going to favor the Democratic Party. So it's going to come at a point in time down the road, like, will the Democratic Party stay when itself, or is it going to transform and be the progressive, more Democratic Party? So that's when you'll see the party split. And going to the Republican Party, you're seeing, I don't even call it the Republican Party anymore.
Right.
It's Trump's party. And he's killed the Republican Party. There's no Republican Party. It's Trump's party. So when you hear, that's what we need to label that as now. It's gone. Their values, what they stand for, what they say, they were Abe Lincoln's party, it's over. Trump has came in and derailed the entire party and took it off course.
I'm glad you said that, because I know personally people who are identify as Republicans or registered as Republicans, but did not and do not support Trump. So yeah, he's completely like taken that party over. And I'm glad you said it too. The division has always been there, and that's been one of my main arguments since I started speaking out and tried to be an activist and stuff, is that none of this is new. We just have more channels to broadcast it to the masses. Like, people, Ashley for Change, for example, you guys are just being divisive. You're just being, no, you're just now becoming aware because you've been privileged long enough to turn a blind eye to it. Like, it's not so much that we're divided, but it's amplified. It's put on this major scale, and now people see it, and it makes people uncomfortable. And you're just being divisive. No, I'm standing up for myself. I'm using my voice. Back in the '60s, you see somebody that looks like Faith, somebody that looks like you. Black women weren't allowed to, use. They did, but they would so quickly try to put them into place. When we do it now, it's, I I can't believe you would say that to me. You're being divisive. No, I'm not. I'm not staying in my place. That's all the difference is. So yeah, I don't like to hear that divisive. I mean, it is true we're divided, but the divisiveness is not new.
See,
It's
and
been amplified because of homeboy Trump.
the president of the United States has green-lighted all of this. He has
exactly.
woke them up. He has gave them their voice. He is their voice. He's their God. It's any adjective that you want to describe him as a God. That's literally what they look at him as. If Trump says it, it's what Trump says. It's right.
It's the Bible. I mean,
It is.
It's it.
They pray
That's
to
the
Trump
thing.
and
Yeah,
God.
they
It's
do.
no longer praying to Jesus. It's
do.
praying to Trump first and then God second.
Yeah.
And that's why it shocks me that they can call themselves a Christian and support somebody like Donald Trump, somebody so not Christian-like. And it just shocks me because he's been their voice all along. He's woke these militia groups up that are coming out in droves. They are organizing online. It is the KKK without their hoodies on. Literally.
Yeah.
They are coming and they are terrorizing. I've dealt with them in Grayson, Kentucky. The things that they say, how they act, how they move, it is just unfathomable and unbelievable. Just what I saw that day, just hearing what they said, and just everything. That is everywhere. It's in every single county. It's all over the United States.
This president stood up there and said for the good boys to stand.
Stand back and
Stand back,
yeah.
Stand by, stand by.
Stand
During
by.
the presidential debate
President.
on national television, he said this to these people.
He's not
like,
even worthy of it.
yo, that's crazy. Like, what do you mean, good boys stand back and
What?
stand up? Like, like, who are you talking to?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? You ain't calling the Army, the National Guard, and you said for the good boys, whoever the good boys, quote unquote, are. But anyway, you guys, it's something else, and you might be right. We may not, we might not be able to unify. I hate to say that we won't be as a country, because now, where does that lead this country? And he has so many days left in office, right? So how much damage can this man do? And he still ain't conceding, but how much damage can he do before he actually leaves the office?
Well, you're already seeing him fire people in the Pentagon and put
yeah.
loyalists in there to support him when Biden does take over. He knows that Biden's going to take over. I don't know why he's dragging all this out and trying to kill our democracy. That's exactly what he is doing.
Yeah.
This
He's
is
made a
slowly
mockery
but
of
surely
democracy,
having people lose faith in our election process, having people lose faith in our democracy in its whole.
Yeah.
So what do we do from here? There's so many holes in our democracy right now. Like we are on the verge of boiling over.
Yeah.
And I don't know where or what direction we are headed in. It's scary.
Yeah, because, I think we've already seen a little bit of civil unrest in this country, and when he said we need to focus on Antifa and the left, he didn't ever say anything about the massacre when the white guy went into the church and killed all the 9 people in the church. He never said anything about the people running over in South Carolina, when the people were running people over during the protests. When
That's when he said there's fine people on both
Oh,
sides.
yeah.
that's what,
He
yeah,
sure
you know what I'm
did.
saying? He even said it. So even on that point, he didn't never say, "Hey, that was wrong on them." Well,
He
basically
supports
said
it.
they got what they deserved. You know what I'm saying? Basically, so we seen civil unrest on a small scale. I thought about the Michigan during the COVID-19 shutdown, and the people in Michigan was like, "Open up," and they walked in. White men walked into onto the the grounds of the governmental grounds with guns, demanding the mayor open up.
Right.
I wish it. Walk up in somewhere with some guns,
Right.
and let me go march. Me and my 12, 20 people, 30 people march up in the
It'll be
building
gang
on the
related or
government
something.
building with some guns demanding something.
Yeah.
Now the Second Amendment all out the window.
Yeah.
Now we are predators and militia, like you said. A gang came in here
Thugs.
to steal the, you know what I'm saying, over some drug. They changed the whole narrative, just like they changed Kaepernick's.
You would have already been on the ground arrested before you even
Well-
walked up in there.
They would have shot you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even have made it up the steps. Huh? No, but we laugh at that. But I mean,
It's
that's
true.
I just wonder where, if this guy's not conceding and he's not wanting to leave the office.
He's a good Christian man.
He's not coming out of there easy. Are they gonna drag him out?
Yeah.
I hope so. It'd be good for TV.
Oh yeah.
You're fired. Drag him out of there.
I do want to make a point on his phrase, "Make America Great Again." So, just hearing that phrase, we have never been fully great in any time in America. So, that's one reason why I did not like him. It's so condescending in itself to say, "Make America Great Again," because when has America been great for all of God's people in America?
Right.
Never. So, at what point in time are you trying to go back to? You should be saying to move forward in time again. We should be making America greater, like doing things like, it's just so condescending to say make America great again when we're not. We've never reached our fully potential greatness.
Right.
So what greatness are you trying to go back to? The 60s, the 70s, the 80s? They weren't good for black people.
Yeah.
Right.
So what at point in time, tell me, I'll ask his supporters, what point in time do you want to go back to? And they just look at me. I'm like, what does the phrase make America great again mean? And they just,
I wanted to
it's
know that, too.
ridiculous.
They can give you an answer.
I'm telling you, back to Reconstruction.
Yeah, I mean,
For them, that's a marketing ploy. Any strategy, even, you know what I'm saying, when Obama said, you know what I'm saying, yes, I can, we're going to make a change, yes, I can, that's a branding, that's a marketing. Make America great again. He wasn't talking to us.
Talk back, white power.
Right. He wasn't speaking to us. He was saying, let's make America great again. And then that's why you seen these people come out the back of
Put
the
the blacks
woods and
in their
come out of
place.
these
Right.
places that come out to vote. Like these guys came out rednecks and anything. They came out. They came out. These white nationalists came out like, yes, make America great again. Like you said, at what point was America ever at its greatest point? Tell me when it was at its greatest point. And it never was for black Americans.
and the craziest thing about it is and we all know this, but his most diehard supporters, well, some of them that are white, it wasn't even great for them because y'all are poor. Y'all are just,
Right.
Like we live in Appalachia, so a lot of things that black people have been disenfranchised with, some of these poor coal miners have done the same things. Like they've protested, they've went to war over stuff. You guys don't realize we have more in common than you do with Trump or any of them. Like it's all about the skin color for them. Yeah. That's what they have in common with this man, so they flock to him, not realizing that you're not making money either. They're not bringing jobs to your area either.
See, and
You're getting bad health care too.
They don't get
right.
They don't get that part of it.
That's why education matters, because like just West Virginia, Trump goes there so many times because he appeals to uneducated voters. They're the 40th most uneducated state in America.
Yeah.
So every single county voted for him, of course. He campaigned on the oil, the coal.
Completely red in West Virginia.
Completely red.
Yeah.
I mean, even in you know, and that's sad. I know West Virginia. I know, born and raised here, man. I'm telling you, 304 till I die. But it's so sad, man. We are maybe 4% of the state. African Americans only for like 4% of the state population, and that tells me Huntington, West Virginia, Charleston, West Virginia, where down in Beckley, where predominantly your African American population is. You people, I sound like you people,
You people.
our Caucasian allies and friends, y'all even voted for Trump. Because it shows on the maps where it's red and blue. That's sad.
That was an eye opener for me to see
That
those maps.
tells you something. Yeah. That tells you something, like you said about the neighbor, about the person next to you. That's sad. That's sad, Huntington, Charleston. No, that's sad. But I just want, that
I was
really
gonna say
is.
Ohio wasn't much better.
No, Ohio is no longer a swing state.
No. No, I was very disappointed.
But you can see your patches in Ohio. When we looked at that
Yeah,
map,
yeah.
you see your patches in Ohio where.
It looked like a little rash, though.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. It
It wasn't
Hey,
very
you
big.
can see some blue, like these counties were blue. West Virginia, the whole
state was,
damn state.
Hey, but at least Biden won more counties than Hillary Clinton did in 2016.
true.
She won 7 or 8 counties in 2016 compared to Biden. I think he won 12 to 14. I can't remember how many counties he won in Ohio. But
yeah,
we may have lost Ohio, but we put up a fight.
We did.
We put up a fight.
yeah.
I was just going to say, too, and kind of backtracking a little bit, I think Trump has given some of these people a sense of entitlement. Like they are entitled to whatever they want. And I kind of got a sense of that in different areas, but I worked the polls on election day. And I had a gentleman come in, and when you come in to vote, you can't wear any kind of political paraphernalia, either side.
Right.
And he came in with his Trump supporting hat, and he literally put up a fight about us telling him to take his, because he felt entitled. That was his right. We were taking away his right to vote with his hat on of the person that he supported. And finally, you know, it was just, I just see that so much now. They feel entitled. That's their right.
That's why education
Because
matters.
yeah, it is. It's just, oh, it's crazy.
I can't remember who said it specifically, but they said when Trump, maybe it was Van Jones, that this was a white lash.
Oh
For
yeah.
having to go through those 8 years of Obama, this was the white lash. This was the revenge.
Get their power back.
This was
Yeah.
yeah.
White power.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, he definitely empowered those people. They're still empowered. But
They even said on election night in 2016, we're taking back our country. Who are you taking your country back?
Right.
A black man in office? That's what you're indicating right there.
that
I
you
mean,
didn't
come on,
even
say it out
let
louder.
do everything that he wanted to do. So what are you really taking back? The main thing they were mad about was Obamacare. But he couldn't pass anything because the Senate, voted against. So what exactly are you taking back?
I don't know.
Speaking of having a black man in, when Joe Biden selected Kamala Harris as his vice president, she actually broke 2 ceilings.
She did. Glass all over the place. One, she was a woman. And then 2, of course, she's a black woman, which that also brings me to a point which I thought was funny. I read some places where people said, "Oh, she's not really black.
She's a man.
She's not black. She's not black. Her mother was Indian and her father was Jamaican." And I'm really surprised because I was like, what is it? A drop?
Yeah.
You're black. She identifies as black. So what problem do you have letting her identify as that? But they want to say, "Oh, she's not a black person. So why are y'all supporting her and all excited about that?"
It's that Tiger Woods thing, though. I mean, even though he was trying to say he wasn't black.
Yeah.
You know what
He
I'm
was
saying? Tiger Woods was
Camblinasian or
I'm not
whatever.
black. And anyway, so, but, nobody let him live it down, though. it was like, nah, bro, you black.
Right.
You black, man. You
Your
black.
dad was like, yeah, you
You know what I'm saying? You want the masses. We gonna eat chicken and water. You black, bro. No, but go. I'm sorry. Yeah, but
No,
people
I mean,
saying that about her.
yeah,
How do
that
y'all
just-
feel about that?
That just amazed me. Yeah, that people would even say something like that.
The craziest things I've seen so far was, like you said, a lot of people are saying she isn't black. She only started claiming black recently to get the vote. Indian mother. And then this one dude, he said, her mother's Indian, her dad is Jamaican, she's not black. And somebody said, you do realize that Jamaicans are black, right? And he said, well, she doesn't have an African-American parent, so she's not black. I mean, they are jumping through the hoops.
Oh my goodness.
Every single hoop. And it's like,
Did they ever find Obama's birth certificate? No.
Oh, he was black though. Yeah.
the hoops people jump through. And then I even saw old buddy say, the same dude, well, what's a person of color? What's a woman of color? And that's one of the things that I hate, because you might be dumb, but you are playing stupid.
Oh yeah.
You are playing stupid
Yeah.
to get a reaction out of me, and then make me look like the angry black. You know what I'm saying? Like the games they play, they make me so mad.
I don't know how you guys feel, but I kind of feel like a lot of America does, well, not a lot, but some of America doesn't like Biden because he was under Obama. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was an in-lover. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say the word. He was, and then now you done picked a woman, and now she's a black woman. So we really, right, he's a basically. And,
Jefferson
you know,
2.0.
to be, right. But I'm saying, like, I mean, Biden's what, 78? And the thing they're scared about is if something happens to Biden, who's the president?
A black woman.
Oh my goodness! Don't you let that little colored little colored girl tell us what to do.
That little color.
Yeah, that
You
little
do
colored
have
girl.
some. You have some people with that mentality. We do, and people know we're not categorizing everyone
Right.
Right.
No.
into this category, but you have a lot of people that really, some of my best friends are black, but it's that guess who's coming to dinner type thing,
Right.
best friend, but we ain't doing it like that now, you know what I mean? So you do have a lot of people that think with that mentality of, again, being afraid, I guess, is a power thing, like you said, being afraid of losing losing power, and then us men. I mean, how many of us want to see a woman in power? Women had to fight for a long time to have a place in this country. You know what I'm saying? It's always, whether it's women fighting for equal work rights, voting rights, to be in the military. You know what I'm saying? Women have had to struggle and fight in this country to be in a place of power for a long time, and that's why we're saying she actually broke 2 ceilings, and that's
She did. And it gives you hope.
It does.
It really does. And, you know, our daughter is older, but still she can look up to her. And I look at these little black girls who have somebody to look up to and think, oh, there is no glass ceiling. Because if she can do it, I can do it. And that gives you hope. And I don't think some people understand that portion of it. I don't think they ever will understand. And I had this discussion with somebody else. I said, I don't think you really understand our history as African-American people and where we come from. And people didn't even as simple as the picture of Kamala that's going around with Ruby shadow beside her. I don't think people understand the significance of that picture. And so you've had to, it's again, education. I've told people there's a book, there's a video, watch her story, and then you'll understand. And that's just a piece of our history to see what Ruby did to break those barriers, and now look at where we are now. But look how long it took for us to get here. So it's all about education, but I don't know that people really want to understand. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I just feel like they don't.
I see, that's the point where it gets me too. I don't know if they don't just want education or they truly don't understand education. I don't know, because I've spoke to so many people, is hearing what they have to say. It truly shocks me sometimes how lost they are, how they don't have any perspective but what they grew up with in their minds. Like, it truly shocks me that they can just think that way. And the thing with me is, I try not categorizing all Trump supporters as this and that, but if you're supporting him, you're supporting every phobic and ism there is. It shows. It's true. His supporters, like Hillary Clinton said in 2016, you can put all of his supporters into a basket of deplorables because they're every phobic and ism there is. They're racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic. You can go through his supporters and find one of those phobics or isms in each of his supporters. Wow. And that's the point where we are so divided. It's evidently true that we are split on what we value most in America. You saw on election night, Republicans' main concern was not social equality or social justice or getting equality. Right. It was the economy. So the Democrat side, what we favored that we said was more valuable to us was racial inequality. Right. And it really shows that we are a divided America, very divided. And
well, Trump said he's done more for Black America than other than Abraham Lincoln.
He's brought back a war and everything.
Yeah, what we've done for HBCUs and what we've done for Black people, no one's done more. I love the Black community. That was almost a quote from Donald Trump, but but just Then he said in the second debate, I'm the least racist person in the room.
Like, and I can't see who on that. Like all these black people in this darkness, I can't tell.
But that's wonderful that we have a president now, president-elect now, that served under African-American president and then does have a African-American vice president. They try to throw Joe Biden under the bus with black male voters, and it was like 12 to maybe 20% of black male voters did vote for Trump after some of this stuff came out. Hey, Harris, she locked up a lot of brothers in California. She was a prosecutor. She was doing her job. I don't know, whatever situation it was, bro. I mean, I hate that because I know the prison system has, almost eradicated the black family in a sense, but he did sign. He was one of the senators. He wasn't the only one to sign in the bill that signed a law in that again put black men. And he says, I seen the little clip that they put out there, and Joe Biden was talking about they're gonna get my mother and they're gonna get my daughter or something or whatever he was saying, and they need to be locked away. He said all that. He did, and that was like, okay, wow, that was major. He did say all that, but even in time, a person can change. And saying that, like I said, that's why I would go back to saying he served under a black president, and he has a black vice president, and he also did say it was wrong. It was wrong. We signed that, and it was wrong that we did that. At the time, Joe Biden was probably in his 50s or whatever he was in, 40s, 50s, 60s when he signed this bill in Congress with a full of white men. They signed these bills, and again, those were some of the I would say I call it the Jim Crow laws that was still in effect when they were signing these bills in to keep black people in our quote unquote in our places to still affect our communities. But people can change, and I hope that Joe Biden will take this presidency with Kamala Harris and look at some of the contract with Black America and look at some other policies and what he was talking about, lifting African Americans, lift their voices for African Americans and making a change. I hope he gets to. Don't wait till election year, 4 years from now. Start implementing
Stuff now.
Start implementing it now. I want to go to the bank and get a loan.
Sign that contract.
I want to start a new business. I want to go to the bank and get a loan for a business, without the low interest rates and yada, yada, So, but that's true. That's kind of what set people back, man. I mean, the lack of opportunity when it comes to economics. So, I think every body should be able to go to college and come out with little or no debt. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't be looking at $40,000, $50,000 in debt coming out of college. You know what I mean? It just shouldn't happen that way, but it shouldn't cost you that much to get, especially the first basic bachelor's degree. Now, if I'm going to go further my education and get me a doctorate and get me a PhD, I might be looking to spend money for that. That's investing in myself a little more. But just to get a basic Bachelor of Arts degree when half the people that whatever your degree is in, you're not even working in even working in that field anyway. Mm-hmm. So we shouldn't have to pay, out the yin yang to get an education. But that's just my little quick rant. We was talking about Kamala Harris. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I just wanted to say one thing I just brought up, and I'll get back to Kamala in a minute, but when we were talking about the crime bill and how a lot of people didn't vote for Biden, they voted against Trump. Unfortunately, we're still dealing with a two-party system, and every candidate and politician is going to have a pass. But I think, it says right here, more than 2/3 of the Congressional Black Caucus backed the crime bill. So it wasn't solely on Joe Biden, and it wasn't solely on white people. I'm not making excuses or anything like that, but it's like when it comes to Trump and when it comes to Biden said all those terrible things. Biden signed that bill, but a lot of people co-signed that bill as well that share the same skin tone as us. And then on the other hand, in 2020, after George Floyd is shot, Donald Trump said, when they start looting, we start shooting. So it's like, you want to talk about statements. Let's talk about the ones that was made a couple weeks ago. Right. And the second thing is a question for you all. I don't know if I encounter this more because I am biracial, but once again, and I love my people. I love my people. But when it comes to our community, a lot of that talk about her not being black enough is from black people.
That's true.
As well. So
creating that narrative, you know what I'm saying?
Have any of you all had that conversation or yet about that? Because sometimes I feel like I'm too closely intertwined in it, so I just don't, and I get defensive, so I kind of back up and just try to listen to other people. But when it comes to that not black enough thing, or she just now started claiming black, that's not just Trump people, that's not just Caucasian people, that's also something that's kind of rooted in our community as well.
It is, and I mean, I don't know if the Willie Lynch letter really exists or not, but, to divide the light skin from the dark skin and the old from the young and
and the male from the female, and this is how you keep a slave. And I don't think it just meant physically; it was mentally.
Yes.
It was a mental thing to the black community. So yes, experienced that whole thing to the point of, and I may be guilty. I may look at a brother could be dark as me, and I'm a dark skinned folks because you know y'all hear him, you can't see me necessarily unless you watch the tape. But I mean, I may look at a dark skinned bro, and there's been times like, bro, you ain't you dark skinned, but you might be Uncle Tom or something. You know what I'm saying? You ain't black enough. You know what I'm saying? You can be black as charcoal, but you ain't black enough. You know what I'm saying? But so not just so to say it as someone that is biracial and saying to them, you can't speak on black issues because you ain't black enough to speak on black issues. You know what I'm saying? You don't deal with everything that I deal with being darker. That's not always the case, right?
Yeah, but
That's
I do
not always the
agree
case.
with that, though.
You know what I'm saying? So I can't speak and against you and say that and say, but yes, to answer your question, I mean, I have, so I'm going to let someone else speak too, but I've dealt with being that narrative that we create as someone from the community that's in a position, and we like, there's that word passing again, right? You could pass, so you know, the white people accept you because you pass and you ain't black enough. But yeah, I've dealt with that before.
I think we're prejudiced amongst our own race. Like you said, the dark skin against the light skin. Oh, you think you good because you light skin. You got that good hair, and I've got kinky hair, and your hair is long and your hair is short, or, you know, you too dark. You know, I mean, how are you too dark? I mean, we come in all different shades. I mean, even in my own experience, I mean, our daughter is very light skinned, and you know, you get people like, well, are you sure? I mean, is that your kid?
Yeah.
Because you're darker than her, so somewhere along the line, she's got to have somebody white in her. You know what I'm saying? And she does, but I'm saying, like, it's that whole big, like, how did you come up with that little light-skinned baby and you're a dark skin? But we're very prejudiced, and it shouldn't be that way. And then that affects our kids because, you know, we went through that with her too, like, especially in this area where there's not a whole lot of black people, but and she was trying to figure out where to identify with. And then some of the black people were like, well, she can pass. We didn't even know that was her out there on the cheerleading squad because she looks like the rest of them.
Right.
You know, so that kind of thing. And it's sad. And sometimes we're our own worst enemies.
Sometimes we are.
Or, too, the other thing I was thinking about was someone who's intelligent and doesn't speak like we want them to speak. And they speak all proper and everything. You're not black.
Yeah, you're
not black.
out.
Yeah.
You're trying to sound wise.
Right. You're just an Uncle Tom because you're up there speaking proper. What?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
I don't know how you can judge my blackness. Like, you know what I'm saying? What's black? You know what I'm saying? What's too black? And don't get it twisted. We do have a culture.
Yes.
That has been lost too. I ain't gonna get into all that. We do have a culture, and growing up in the 80s and 90s, it used to be like, oh, you ain't doing, oh, you know what I'm saying? Nah, black people do this. We do it like this, you know what I'm saying? And that's how, like you said, it goes back to trying to identify yourself with that group of people, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, certain things that we do, certain ways that we talk. Remember they came up with Ebonics in the early 90s?
Yeah.
It was almost a whole new language, and it probably still out there exists. The term, analogy, Ebonics, and it was a way to explain the slang of how, you know, black people in America were talking, you know, it was a thing. Like, who came up with a whole new language, Ebonics?
There's a whole exhibit. There's a whole exhibit on Ebonics at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in D.C.
Really?
There's a whole exhibit on it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'm
like
telling y'all, this
I have
really
pictures,
exists.
but yeah, there's a whole exhibit. I
On
mean,
Ebonics.
yeah, on Ebonics, and it makes you laugh, but at the same time, it's like this is really how, you know, some of us communicate in order to create that sense of culture. So, yeah. It's deep, but that's just something that, I mean, you know, when she was actually running to try to be the candidate, she was a black woman, but then once she was brought in, you know, as Biden's VP, that's when people wanted to start questioning and stuff. And I was, make up your mind. I don't know.
But then they question Obama. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Well,
People They're never satisfied. You're never gonna please everybody.
Yeah, and her record for locking black men up
Yeah.
immediately made us black people be she ain't really black anyway. You know what I'm saying? She can't be black. She locking, she ain't
Right.
really black
She
anyway.
ain't for us.
So I don't know. I say biracial people have a unique perspective on things. Like you said, statistically, there's going to be a lot of biracial people in there, but y'all have a unique perspective on things as far as. First, let me look at this dynamic. Let's look at the black father, white mother. And then there's the other perspective of the white father, black mother. So there had known people in both dynamics. And it's really interesting to see the perspective of how they have to be raised because both are basically black still. Whether your father is white, whether your father is black, and the other parent is black, now you have to be raised as a black child for the most part. You know what I'm saying? For the most part. Some parents may try to, I'm gonna raise my kid around white people, and then they get that culturally side, back to that word culture, and this is how they act, so they grow up, quote unquote, white in a white culture, but then they're still looked at from their peers as a black person. At the end of the day,
They
you
don't
black.
see you as black.
You know what I mean? But that, I don't know if that makes
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
you guys like, I don't know if that's why I said it's an interesting perspective because for certain things, when it does come to situations like if Trump causes like these tensions between race, where does that put a biracial child?
Right. And I think something that I wasn't aware of and that I didn't take note of until college is when I got out of this area is that it's kind of, I don't want to say rare, but from the people I met, a lot of people had a different upbringing from me because I had both sides in my life equally and both supportive of each other and loving and united and all that. And I just, me being naive little girl from Ashland, I just assumed everybody was like that. And that was not the case. You know, like a lot of times it depends on, which parent is black or which parent is absent or if there's an absent parent. So that, like you said, it creates a unique experience for some people for sure. But I don't know. I just thought that was weird because I honestly didn't really hear that argument of her not being black aside from her being a prosecutor and locking up black folks. But like her actual genetic makeup, I never heard people question that until she became the VP, and then it's like, oh, we gotta put parameters on it. Like,
Well, I know we've been talking for a minute, but one of the last things I do want to ask you guys is, whether people like it or not, America has spoken. Joe Biden is the president-elect. Kamala is a VP-elect. What do you all expect from them? And do you think that they can bring about a climate of change and you try to do some unification or unifying this country?
I think Biden is going to restore decency, respect, morals, and character to the White House. He's going to restore the presidential, what presidential means. He's going to restore that into the White House. We're no longer going to have a president that lacks character or tweets conspiracy theories or attacks the press. I think they are going to unite the country because Joe Biden is going to be a president for everybody, no matter if you are Democrat or Republican. And he's shown that. He works across the aisle on both sides. So, and that's another thing I want to make a point. Joe Biden had to be the candidate that had to be put forward. Nobody else could defeat Donald Trump. It's not time to put forward a woman, a gay person, a black man. It had to be a white man that works on both sides. And that's exactly what happened. He won. It was a perfect plan.
Yeah. That clap button.
Faye.
Anything? She's like, nah, I'm good.
I don't know. I kind of play devil's advocate sometimes, but it's not even really a devil's advocate stance. It's I think Biden and Kamala will make some change, but I honestly think that I can't remember the exact Tupac quote, but I think Biden and Kamala might not change the world, but I feel like they might be the ones to spark the mind of the person who will change the world and restore some faith in certain people, because I wouldn't necessarily call myself a pessimist, but when people showed their true colors throughout this whole time, I wasn't that surprised, you know, and my mom told me she thought that was sad, you know, that my outlook on the world is like that. And I was like, I don't think it's necessarily sad. It's just one of those things where, like we all know here, like we said before, the divide isn't new. It's just been amplified. So I think after this election, which has been historical with the amount of people that actually voted, and just the fact that it's 2020 and we still have a candidate like this, not even a candidate, a person who is in office, I think there will be minds that are sparked that will work towards even more change. Once Kamala and Joe create that climate of change, maybe the next person, the next candidate, or whoever will enact that climate of change. I think they're going to be the stepping stone.
Okay.
Unless Trump decides to run again in 2024.
Oh, goodness.
For what party, though? That's the thing. The Republicans better not let him run for their party again. Like, y'all cannot be that messed up that y'all going to let Trump run again in your party. He's going to have to be like a soloist or something. I mean, not even an independent or something. You know what I'm saying? What is soloist
He's
party?
going to create his own party.
I mean, that just don't make no sense at all. But,
You got any more 2 cents on this?
No, I'm good. I think I talked a lot this time.
Okay. Anybody got any final words? Anything?
Hey, we did it.
Hey, hallelujah, we did it.
I think everything was touched on today. That was pretty good, and I always love to have y'all three come in here and join us and speak. I love to hear what's on y'all's minds. And moving forward, I hope that my last words is to say that I hope that come January, that before the end of November, December's up, Trump don't do anything in the office that's not necessary to be done, and I just hope that our country can just heal, just heal. And we've been through a lot in 2020, and it's not over with this pandemic and everything that's going on. I hope the new year can bring something new, along with the president-elect and our vice president. I just really hope that people's faith, like you said, people's faith can be renewed. And if you do look at your higher power, let's just say a prayer and just hope that whatever's going on, God's will be done. That's all I got to say.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys again, and hopefully you'll come back. We'll have some more subjects. I'm sure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the BIZ. Yes, once again, the BIZ with your main man, NormBeezy, and my lovely co-host, Lady Tiger, Lady T. We've been joined here with Faith, Austin, Audra. Thank you guys for coming. We hope that you tune in to the next episode. And keep us on your dial, thebiz.buzzsprout.com. You got a podcast coming out?
Ashland for Change does not yet, but I have one personally. It's called What a Crime to Be Alive. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at What a Crime Pod. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, all of those things. So What a Crime to Be Alive.
What a crime to be alive. Y'all heard it right here first, right here. So make sure y'all tune in to that too, man. We definitely want to put that in our thing. Peace.